Hey everyone, it's Chow here, and today we are going to discuss a little bit about adaptive immunity or the adaptive immune system. So let's get started. Okay, all right. Now we talked about the innate immune system or innate immunity. Now we're going to talk about adaptive immunity. The key difference between the adaptive immune system and the innate immune system is that the adaptive immune system is generally very specific. So when we talk about things such as antibodies and antigen binding sites, as well as your epitopes, we are really talking about the immune system in the adaptive sense. So one thing that's very important about the adaptive immune system is that it has to distinguish self from non-self. Your antibodies, for instance, has to be able to recognize certain epitopes that are found from foreign pathogens and hopefully not something that's going to be tagged that's part of your body naturally. So that's very key. The second thing is that we're looking at diversity because there's actually responses to millions of different types of antigens in the world. And that can get a little bit complicated because different for instance, viruses can have different epitopes. And so how our body is able to kind of recognize all those different types of antigens is actually quite amazing. Another thing that's very important is this concept of immunological memory, which means that if your body gets infected by a certain virus and it gets affected by that virus again, so you have a secondary infection that comes maybe a year later from that same kind of virus, there is going to be some kind of memory available, and your body is going to react much faster and stronger the second time. And of course, this is how vaccines work. You're trying to get your body used to that presence of whatever pathogen we're talking about. When we discuss adaptive immunity or the adaptive immune system, there are two main types. The first type is cell-mediated immunity. And cell-mediated immunity often involves things such as killer T cells, also known as cytotoxic T cells. The other type is humoral immunity. So humoral immunity perhaps is the type of immunity that we think about when we discuss antibodies. And it indeed is the one that involves B cells as well as antibodies. So it's basically broken down into two groups. You have cell-mediated and humoral immunity, and these two different types are all part of the adaptive immune system. Now, when we look at the adaptive immune system, one of the key things that happens, and I say that a lot about key things, but this really is a key thing that happens. This is clonal expansion. And why is clonal expansion so important? Well, it allows for proliferation and differentiation, right? So we first of all have selection. When a lymphocyte recognizes a certain pathogen, it's going to get activated. Afterwards, there's going to be a level of expansion where it's going to proliferate and differentiate. And through this proliferation and differentiation, you're going to create things such as effector T cells or effector B cells, aka plasma cells, as well as your memory B and T cells. And these memory cells can allow for long-term memory of whatever pathogen that's infected your body. And so this perhaps is the reason why the adaptive response is so specific. It's specifically building, for instance, B cells that are going to be producing a specific type of antibody to kill a specific type of virus, for instance. Or I guess kill might not be the best word to describe it since a virus isn't living and all, but take out those viruses in your body. So clonal expansion is, of course, very important. Okay, the other important part is negative selection. Why is negative selection so important? Because you want to ensure that you're producing cells and antibodies that are going to be helping you and not actually hurting you. So immature lymphocytes in the thymus that react with self-antigens, so antigens that are present in your own cells, undergo apoptosis. So those that are unfortunately going to end up potentially tagging your own body's natural epitopes and antigens, those are going to get removed. The cells are just going to get destroyed through apoptosis or self-mediated cellular destruction. So the important part of this is distinguishing the self from the non-self. Again, it prevents autoimmunity, so it prevents your immune system from attacking itself. And of course, that is very important within our body. Okay? Cool.